everyone, if you're watching this video, it's gonna be a long one because I'm nervous and I hate filming myself, and this is just kind of weird, but it's for Brenton and Feeding Tube Awareness Week, so we're gonna do it. I put a post a couple days ago to have people ask me questions about Brenton's G-tube, and we got some good questions. I think I get asked every single day something about Brenton's G-tube, which I really like being asked. Anytime you guys have any questions or want to know anything about Brenton, don't ever hesitate to ask, because we're very open about Brenton and his condition, simply because we have nothing to hide. We're not ashamed of it or embarrassed about it, and you know, the more you tell people, the more people are educated, and being educated about special needs is something that our world lacks. And so I am always open to answering questions about anything. There are a few things we don't discuss with people, but we're pretty open about everything. Okay, so as many of you know, Brenton has a G-tube. He's had his G-tube since June, and he's done very well with it. It was a hard decision to make, but we are so blessed and happy that we did make that decision. So this is what a G-tube looks like. It goes in this way. This is a G-tube that Brenton can't use, it's too small for him. But basically this is what one looks like. This little blue thing is like a needle. It's not sharp or anything, it's plastic, but it is like a guiding needle to help put the G-tube in so that it's not flexible. But it just comes right out afterwards. And there's a little knob right here that you stick a syringe in to blow up the balloon. The balloon is what helps the G-tube to stay in place. Yes, these can be ripped out. Fortunately, it's never happened to us, but it can happen. But this balloon just kind of helps to keep it there. Sometimes the water comes out of the balloon. We check his balloon about once a month, and sometimes there's not the same amount of water in it. Not a big deal. They say it's pretty common. But when Brenton's G-tube is not being used, we just cover that up. So this is called an extension set. There's many different kinds. This is just the one we use. I think this is called a Y extension set, but has two different little ports, and they're labeled. This is for medicine. It's just smaller, and this is where his feed goes through. We always try to keep water in this. There's no water in it right now because I just rinsed it out. But when we hook Brenton up to this, we always try to have something in it so that we aren't pushing all of this air into his stomach. But, so basically, ew, my hair. Basically how it works is, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little black line right there, and there's a little black line on here. You just match it up, and then it tells you which way you turn it. You gotta push it all the way in there or else it doesn't turn. So you just turn it around, and this is how he gets the food and medicine actually in through his G-tube. And so you just put a syringe in there, unclamp it, and then I don't know if there's gonna be enough to, there's nothing in the syringe. Hold on. I promise I know what I'm doing. I do this every day. But anyways, you can just see that's kind of how it works. Brenton's G-tube gets changed roughly every 3 months. We try never to go past that, just because we want his G-tube to always be working properly. That was one of the questions. So now I'm going to go through and answer the questions that some of you asked. Yes, all of Brenton's liquids go strictly through his G-tube. He is unable to swallow any type of liquids. He's had 2 swallow studies done. within, I think, the last 6 months, and he's aspirated during both of them. He had a swallow study done back in March, and that's when we realized he was really aspirating, so we just thickened his liquids, and that worked for like a couple months. And he had another swallow study done in June, and he was aspirating on all thickened liquids, so that's when we were advised to get his G-tube. So all liquids, all medicines go strictly through the G-tube, which is really nice because you know that he's getting all of his medicine that way. He's not spitting it out or, pocketing it. He's getting all of it, and you don't have to wake him up to start a feed or to give him his medicine, which is really nice. He does still eat baby food occasionally. Because Brenton is tube fed, a lot of tube fed babies sometimes don't get hungry because they're on a feeding schedule. And we do keep Brenton on a pretty strict feeding schedule, so he doesn't feel hungry. But he does eat some baby food. It's more of just like a treat or a pleasure to him. Brenton is still on the keto diet. It's done okay for him. Me personally, I haven't seen a huge change. I don't feel like it did this miracle for him. It does work really well for other kids. It just wasn't something that worked strongly for Brenton. But yeah, he will most likely always have his G-tube for the remainder of his life, simply because he aspirates really bad, and Brenton isn't able to get feeding therapy because of where we live. He's very, very limited to the therapy opportunities, so he'll most likely just always have his G-tube, which is fine. Like I said, it makes things a lot easier because I know 100% sure that he's getting all of his medicine, and I know that he's staying hydrated, and he's getting all of his nutrients that he needs. How do we clean his G-tube? So basically, I clean it once or twice a day. In the beginning, I cleaned it a lot more because he had a lot of leakage around his G-tube, and sometimes he still does get a little bit of leakage, and when he does, I'll just clean it more frequently. But I clean it about once a day. So basically, we're going to pretend my fingers are his stomach. So, in his G-tube, you can kind of pull it in and out a little bit, and you can see it. So I just get a Q-tip or a washcloth, and I'll just wet it with some water and just go around it like that. If he's in the bath, then I just put water over it. I've never cleaned it with soap or alcohol or anything like that. His G-tube doctors and surgeons just told us water is fine. So that's what we do. When Brenton does have a lot of leakage, sometimes I will put a small piece of gauze around his G-tube and I'll tape it just so that it's soaking up all that liquid. And this has been our best friend. I put it on him mostly at night just to protect his skin if he's had a lot of leakage. I know some G-tube moms use this like every single day. It just depends for me. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It really just kind of depends on what the area around his G-tube looks like. So there's this thing that happens, and it's called granulation tissue, and it's just skin that kind of forms around the G-tube, and it looks kind of gross. Some of them look really bad, and some of them not so bad. Brenton's had that a couple of times the last month and a half, and so some doctors will burn it off with silver nitrate, but Brenton just gets this cream. We just put it around it once, twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. It just depends on the doctor, and it takes it right away. We don't really do anything super special. The G-tube was very scary at first, very scary, but we learned fast. Like I said, it wasn't a huge surprise that Brenton had to get his G-tube. We were sad because obviously, we didn't want him to have it, but super, super, super happy that we did. Another thing I was asked was, does Brenton burp or does he puke a lot with his G-tube? No, he has never puked with his G-tube. Never. Now that I say that, he probably will. but he doesn't. He's, spit up a little bit, but never like full on puked. Brenton gets fed 3 times a day. It's roughly like 8 ounces, I think, and it's over an hour. So it's at a pretty good rate that's the rate that works for him. Some kids are able to eat a lot quicker, some have to eat way slower. It really just depends on the kid. And then at night, he gets what's called a continuous feed, and it is from 10 to 7, and he gets it at a way, 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 way slower rate, and he handles that just fine. But basically, when Brenton needs to be burped, what we do is we hook up his extension set, and normally we use a bigger syringe than this. We used a 60 cc, but I'm just going to use this for now. But anyways, we just stick it in the big loop, and we don't put anything in it. It's an empty syringe, and what'll happen is you'll see air bubbles come out, you'll see milk come out, and that's just our way of burping him. It's called venting. And some babies, or not babies, some G-tube kids get vented every single time they feed. Some of them, they get vented all the time. Brenton, it just depends on him. He needs it when he needs it, and he doesn't when he doesn't. I mean, it really just depends on him. I think that's all I have to tell you. I'm sure once I post this, I'll think of more things to say, but that's really it. We really just want to thank everybody who prays for Brenton, who asks about Brenton, who, show their support for him. It really means a lot for us and a lot to Brenton, and we just want to say thank you guys so much.